So what we're going to do in this tutorial is create phases of the moon kind of AR model. We're going to use Keynote and we're going to use ARMakr to kind of put it all together. It's surprisingly easy to do. So the first thing we need to do is obviously create our assets in Keynote. So what we're going to do here is we'll open up Keynote and you can kind of see the work that I've done. And it's basically a case of creating a slide, bringing down a circle shape, kind of resizing into the shape that we want. You can see I've got my photos open on a split screen. I've got this image of a moon texture from Wikipedia, and it's a simple case of going down and finding that texture and kind of dragging it over on top of my shape, and I can resize that and mask that so it kind of fills, and there you go, I've got my moon inside a shape. Then it's a case of bringing down other shapes or a circle and kind of layering over the top. So what I've done here is if I want to create just a little bit of the moon showing, I can resize it how I want it, color it kind of with a gradient of black, I guess, going from black to grey. And I'm also going to change the opacity. So you can kind of change the angle of the shade from black to grey by changing the angle there, you can see there. And I've just done a kind of a grey to a black. So I've also brought down the opacity, which I'll do in a minute, and that allows me to say, hey, the moon's still there, it hasn't kind of disappeared, but the light is actually not shining on that as much. You can see there I'm starting to play with the opacity and the kind of the size of the shape as well. Now there is another way of doing it, and that is using my finger or my Apple Pencil, and I'll show that. It's probably not as polished, but what it does do is it allows the kids to really create that kind of shape. So here I'm going to tap with my Apple Pencil, and what I'll do is I'll use probably the paint fill, make it bigger so you can see. So I'm going to use this tool, which is the fill tool, and I'm actually going to change the opacity. So when I go up to about kind of 70% or so, and what I do is I touch on one side, create my kind of shape, and what it'll do is it'll do a kind of a fill for me in black, but with an opacity. So you can see there it's not as kind of polished as a shape, but I like the fact that the kids are actually making the shape and actually drawing and kind of thinking about where it'll actually go. We'll change the opacity of that as well. We can kind of flip, right flip to get both aspects of where the moon is showing. And so you can see there. Now what I want to do here is with my slides, I want to make them transparent backgrounds on my slides. So when I go up to share, I'm actually exporting. I'm exporting as a PNG file with that transparent background. I won't see that ugly white or black background. I'll actually put it on PNG. I'm going to export all of the slides. It's a case of then just clicking on export. And what I do then is I can save all of those 11 images that I've created. Lots of flipping, not really reproducing each one from scratch. And then when I get into ARMakr, I'm obviously going to look for a plane on the ground here. I'm going to hit plus. I'm just going to restart that ARMakr so that you can see from scratch. So I'm looking for my plane. This time it's inside, it could be outside. Go to new, go down to folder down the left hand side and select from my camera roll. Select the image that I want, and then that's basically it. So if I go back outside, you can see I've kind of placed them. I found a really big kind of plane that I can use so that I can get the height aspect of it. But I think it's turned out all right, and it's getting kids to think about shapes and phases of the moon. Paul Hamilton here signing off.